So, thanks for having me on your radio show.
Oh, are you actually, do you feel happy to be on it?
Well, I am happy, yeah.
It's
always nice to spend time in your company, Rachel, because you're interesting and nice.
Oh, I'm fishing. What else?
Well, you've made me a very nice cup of coffee, and it's, you know, there's a nice view from where we're sitting.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, and it's nice to see you.
Yeah, I really I do value the time we've spent together, like since I came back to Birmingham, because we sort of crossed paths before, didn't we?
We have crossed paths here, but no, it's nice. I think it's nice when you see someone you haven't seen for ages and they've been on an interesting journey, because you know, I like it when people have got interesting things to share.
Yeah, me too.
You know, sometimes you see someone you haven't seen for a while and you go, what have you been up to? And they say, oh, not much. But
yeah. Yeah, that's right. But neither of us can really say that, thankfully.
Well, no, it's because we keep busy though, isn't it?
Yeah, we do.
Busy.
Last time I saw you, I guess you were, like super pop released itself phase. Would you say? I mean, I did see Bentley Rhythm Ace at the Astoria, but I didn't get to see you that night. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, things come and go, don't they, in waves and cycles. So, you know, something will happen and then it'll go away and then it'll come back again and then it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Really. I think it's like if you make a recording of a song and you kind of send it out into the world and it goes on its own little journey, and sometimes it just disappears without trace, but sometimes it'll keep coming back and drawing you back to it, or drawing other people back to it, which means that you have to go and like represent it in person.
Yeah, that's right. So it's not just the band that come back to it, it's people, it's the audience. It's events, it's DJs, they all kind of travel back to music at any time, don't they? So,
yeah, it's quite fascinating the way it happens.
Yeah, so you, like, I know that we're going to have a total Pop Will Eat Itself show, which is great, and it's going to be centred around the double CD compilation.
Quadruple. Come on, get your facts right, Miss Mayfield.
Gosh, I can edit.
What sort of journalist doesn't do their research?
I'm not. I don't claim to be a journalist. I'm a very interested friend. From where I'm sitting, Pop Will Eat Itself have never gone away. It's never not been a success. But do you feel like that?
I guess I've kind of got an interesting relationship with it, because it seems like it was such a long time ago that you almost forget that it happened.
Really?
Well, not that you forget that it happened, but when you start doing other stuff, it's kind of in the background.
It's like if you look at it as a painting, it hasn't lost any of its colour, but you know, you are in it. You know a different side to it. You've lived it, and do you feel is there a different intensity of you in it now than there was?
Oh yeah, much different.
Really,
much different. Yeah.
So what was it like at first?
Well, at first, because it was very much a live project, if you like, and we were all working very closely and very intensely on it for, you know, quite a number of years, probably about 10 years actually. Wow. And as you know yourself, when you're working closely with a group of musicians and you're in the studio together, or you go on tour and you're kind of living in that really close, you know, it's difficult to get away from it. And once you have some measure of success, you're almost on this kind of cycle where you're doing a tour, promoting the record, and then as soon as you finish that, you start working on the next new record, and it's always, you know what you're doing for the next 12 to 18 months continuously, and it's difficult to kind of take a break from it.
Is that what you needed essentially then, a break?
I don't know if it's we needed a break, or we'd run out of ideas, or we were sick of each other's company, or we all wanted to go off and explore different types of things. But 10 years is a long time to stay in any sort of job.
It is.
Because you just get sort of tired of seeing the same faces every day.
I agree. I went to Frome this weekend to do a live radio show, and I enjoyed it. But there was an interview in the middle of the live performance, and the whole thing was going out live onto air. So and it didn't have time to reflect on my answers. And I was sort of hit immediately with a question about Delicious Monster, and it was quite a deep question, because it was like, oh, Delicious Monster, they did this, they did that, they did, so why didn't it work? And I was like, it's 18 years later and you're talking about it, what part of it didn't work? It totally worked. It was just of its time, and bands split up and then you go on for a walk, and projects have different eras, and it's never a failure, it's just change,
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, but when the band's finished around 96, I'd already started working on this other project, so it kind of just progressed onto that fairly naturally for me.
Right.
And then, other members of the band went off and did various other things. We were still kind of in touch with each other and supportive of what each other was doing. And then about... I'm trying to think when it was, maybe 10 years after that, we decided, I mean, we'd been asked to do stuff loads of times, but we decided that we were going to do a series of, reunion gigs with all the original 5 members of the band. And it was really good fun. It was hard work getting everyone in the same place and, getting it all
Why was
together.
Did everyone live in different cities by then?
Everyone lived in different cities. I mean, Clint was based over in Los Angeles, so that made things awkward. And, because the focus of the band musically was very much based on, a lot of electronics and sampling and sequencing, and so kind of finding all the source material for that and getting it all
that's so interesting
back
to
in
me.
the same place. And it was just...
Where did that journey start for that?
When we were approached to do it, we had to seriously think about whether it was actually feasible to do, and fortunately we'd recorded a live album I think it was at Brixton Academy, and we managed to track down the original studio multi-track tapes, which had all of the kind of sampled and sequence parts
Gosh.
on it. So we managed to extract that and then kind of load it all up into computers and re-edit and stuff. And
oh wow, there's kind of it sounds like there's a bit of a film in that journey. I mean, is there a Pop Will Eat Itself film?
No, there's like a compilation of video clips and stuff. But I mean, that's been unavailable for as long as I can remember.
What, the collection of clips?
Yeah, I've got a copy of it somewhere. I'll have to lend it to you.
I would love that. I feel so lucky. But why is it out of general? Why don't you want people to see that?
We haven't got any control over it because we don't actually own the video clips, because they belong to the people who paid for them. Unsurprisingly.
So, but what would stop somebody making a Pop Will Eat Itself film?
I don't think there is anything to stop anybody doing, which is what this kind of new anthology compilation is all about. I'm sure you're familiar with this yourself, but record labels like Warner's and Universal have got huge catalogues of stuff that's unreleased or unavailable. And quite often it just takes someone to have an idea and approach them to license the material and put together something to release it. Because it's not making any money for Universal if it's just in their archive, but if a smaller label wants to go to the effort of putting together a re-release package, they're generally amenable to that. So we've been working with a label called Cherry Red, who've been, they've been around for a long time, and they've always kind of specialised in reissuing old unavailable material. They re-released a lot of albums that we'd recorded for BMG, RCA, and those kind of labels. And then they approached us about doing, kind of an anthology. So, because we had a lot of unreleased stuff, demo stuff, and I mean, I can't bear to listen to that kind of stuff. But
what can't you bear to listen to?
Well, half-finished demos, but I know that people are interested in it. So
why do you find it difficult to listen to? You're a perfectionist in that way, do you think?
I don't know if it's perfectionist. I'm just. It doesn't fascinate me because I was there at the time.
Wow, you are it. So why would you want to research yourself? That's quite nice, actually. It's quite modest. I like that.
After Pop Itself did the Bentley Rhythm Ace thing, and that lasted for a few years, and that was another kind of roller coaster of a journey.
Is that the project you were doing? You'd already started while
you...
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So how did that sort of begin? What was the seed of that?
The seed of that was I had access to a studio that wasn't being used, and I met the guy who I started the project with, and we were just talked about music, and we talked about making some tracks, and so he came down to the studio one day, and we started on a couple of things, and it just kind of snowballed from there, really.
Well, from being a sort of musician amongst artists now, that's the way I like to hang out with artists, doing the Anchor Gallery thing, but they're very interested in processes. So to you can say, well, we just started making music, but for the listener, it's actually a really interesting, the nuts and bolts of that.
Well, okay, so for the, if you want to talk about the process and the kind of the music that I was interested in at the time, and you can probably see this through if you're familiar with the work of Pop Release itself, but the idea, and artists do this as well, it's kind of collage where you kind of cut and paste different snippets of pre-existing sound and kind of stitch them together into something new. You can be very retrospectively, you can be very intellectual about it and say, well, it's been very postmodern.
Can we go down that road for a little bit?
Well, it would be a bit pretentious of me to do that.
No. I always have to check myself and go, I'm not trying to be too grand, but it's postmodernism. No, I know. No, so I love it. So it's almost like a collage, but so were you a pioneer in that, in a sense?
I don't know if I'd describe myself as a pioneer, but, it was certainly something that interested me.
But you didn't have a reference to do it, did you? Or did you copy anyone else?
Well, I guess our reference was, like hip-hop music, where, like Public Enemy and stuff like that, where it's very much that same collage thing.
Yeah.
But, since then, and, this is why I half jokingly said how easy it is to kind of retrospectively intellectualise your work.
Yeah, because you didn't think. Yeah, you weren't thinking that at the time. It just felt good.
Yeah, it felt good, and it was exciting, and it seemed like a new and exciting way of approaching composition. But the more I study music and composition, the more I come to realise that what we were doing was essentially the same as what people like, I don't know, Pierre Schaeffer was doing in the 1940s and 50s. As soon as the tape recorder was invented, then people started recording things and chopping them up and editing them, and that whole kind of music concretes thing. So
that's lovely. And what sort of equipment were you using at that time? Was it digitised, or was it still analogue?
No, it was digital. I mean, we had a computer that acted as a sequencer, and it just sent out like MIDI signals. Then we used the MIDI signals to trigger samples from kind of a hardware machine. And it had like a little tiny screen about that you know, about
tiny
4
screen.
inches by 2 inches, with just numbers on it. You know, 'cause, you look at modern digital workstations and everything's on the screen and you can see what you're doing.
Yeah.
It was a really kind of different way
Yeah.
of working.
And was that based in the Jewellery Quarter?
We had a studio in the Jewellery Quarter, in the basement of the Big Peg building.
Wow. And how long do you find it easy to spend hours? I mean, did you spend hours in that room looking at that 2x4 screen? I mean, how long can you go, Rich?
Oh, hours and hours and hours.
I see.
Hours and hours. I
Yeah.
haven't got the stamina that I had now. You know.
Stop bragging. So did you like smoke and drink and like, I mean, did you have like a super healthy period? Right, I'm going to do yoga and spend hours in the studio. I mean, what was your life?
Never had a super healthy period.
Is that why you look so good?
That's why what?
You look so good.
Oh, you're such a flirt.
I know. It's true though. Like you haven't, you're pickled, aren't you? Pickled by all
do you
this.
want to try my spectacles on?
I think what we'll do for the show, we'll get a photo of me with my glasses on and you with yours on.
When you started thinking you wanted to be a musician, you wanted to write songs, you wanted to perform, and then you've got to start thinking about marketing and design and promotion and videos and record sleeves and all that kind of thing. Did you think about, how you're going to, what the sleeve of the third single off the album was going to be like and all that kind of stuff?
What, when I first started?
Yeah.
No, I didn't have that kind of visual art interest then.
Yeah.
I looked like, I think when I was, just left school, I was copying like a bit of what my mum would wear and a bit of like, a pop star I liked a little bit, or or tried to make my own clothes and have my own clothes made. I started that quite soon on, and I made loads of mistakes, and but I didn't care, I just loved to be out there rehearsing, getting on stage. It wasn't my passion to think about the image side of it, but then you start to get the reviews and people start talking about what you look like, and that's something that girls get, and I didn't know about that yet. I think I was quite naive and just very enthusiastic, and it's like I think actually Mike Davis from Brumby wrote a review and he was going needs urgent talks with an image stylist. Thanks.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's disappointing, isn't it, that really?
Yeah,
Do you think?
I was a bit hurt by it.
Oh yeah, have you got over it now?
Well, I got over it then because...
I mean, Mike Davis, bless him, I would never have described him as a style icon.
Yeah, I don't know why he said it and why he decided to pick on me. I think I was...
don't know. It's, the phrase people who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones comes to mind.
No, but I always find that you are really, like, I did that gig at the kitchen garden. I didn't feel like it went too well, but you were very like, no, you did well, forget it. Loads of people do gigs, some of it was great, some of it wasn't, forget it, move on. You're very supportive and you just get over it and carry on. Is that kind of a secret to some of your, success, that are you supportive of your bandmates as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you have... The thing about live music is that there are mistakes, and if you analyse everything you do, people do, nobody does a note perfect performance. There's always something that goes wrong, but because it's, because it's gone in a flash, people don't notice.
Yeah.
I've done gigs where I've made horrendous mistakes and
What,
almost to the point of being embarrassed, and then realise that nobody noticed at all.
Really?
Yeah. And things go wrong, but what are you going to do? Cry into your porridge for the rest of your life.
Well, no, I think I love that attitude, and I think I'm quite good at going, okay, I'll take some of what it's true, but I'm not going to let you stop, get me down. But like in Delicious Months, the bass player was more interested in kind of like Star Trek and image and good haircuts, and some of that rubbed off on me. And then when I eventually got my black haircut and the band suddenly were all in black, shortly after that, you know, things, you know, the way we looked it worked well, and it did affect.
Well, it comes down to marketing and promotion, doesn't it? And if you've got a strong, recognisable image, then it makes the people whose job is marketing promotion that much easier, I guess. But we were kind of lucky with Pop Will Eat Itself, particularly because we met this guy called Ian, who set up a design company, and he was interested in approaching design the way that we were approaching music, whereas, you know, where you could just go and kind of essentially steal bits of other people's ideas and repurpose them into new things. And I think he kind of saw the project of working with a band and being able to control their image and design and branding as something really interesting to do. And he did some, well, I mean, he's done the artwork for this new compilation as well. So we've got a relationship with him going back, you know, 25, 30 years.
That's incredible.
But, you know, he's a really, really interesting character. And I think because we share that same kind of postmodernist magpie approach to repurposing things. And also there's a lot of humour and sort of private in-jokes in the work that he does, and you'll find there's a lot of kind of puerile humour hidden away in a lot of the stuff that we did as well. So it was it's a really, really good working relationship that we had.
Almost like another member of the band in a way.
Almost. And, you know, we were from Stourbridge on the whole.
Were you? The majority of you?
The majority of us.
Right. And where are you from?
Where am I from?
Yeah.
I'm from York.
Really?
Yeah.
Up to a certain age, or?
Well, moved to the Midlands when I was just before I started school.
Yeah.
I lived in Wolverhampton.
Gosh.
And then I grew up in a place called King Swinford, which is just outside Stourbridge.
Yeah. Okay, so that's how you connected to the musicians in Stourbridge, because you're kind of living quite locally.
Yeah.
Isn't that quite magical, though? I mean, do you believe in chance? I mean, what's your feeling on luck?
Chance, luck, I think they play a part, but I think being able to recognise opportunities probably. So
luck's something that catches up with you when you're really busy and passionate about something.
Yeah, well, you know, you always say that the harder you work, the luckier you get. You know, the more things that you do, the more opportunities present themselves, and then the luck is recognising which opportunities to pursue. Do you think that's right?
It has been for you.
Well, I think so.
Yeah.
I don't demand that everybody thinks everything that I do is amazing, because it's not.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, someone will say something that's so funny that it's better than somebody saying that you're the best thing since sliced bread. Yeah,
I agree. Like if certain people don't like you, it's actually a blessing sometimes.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember we did this gig I think it was in Nuremberg in Germany, and this guy came in the dressing room afterwards, and he said, I've got two things I want to say about your show tonight. He says, number one, you were shit. And number two, you didn't play for long enough.
What band was that?
And that was with Pop Will Eat Itself. It was just the most brilliant thing.
Was everybody there when he said it?
Yeah, it was just him. It was just like, wow, that's just the best thing anyone's ever said. How could you not see that as funny? It's just...
I know, but I think that's, again, part of your art. You know, you can laugh at the world, you can. And the projects you've been in, I've noticed, you can. You know, it's a strength. And I think it's part of... If someone said, what are the components of, like, longevity, and that's what this show's about, you know, because you're a musician, you're the real thing. You know, you've made music since what age did you start?
Yeah,
baby teens. I know you'd have to say what your age is. I'm not even interested.
No,
I haven't got age goggles anyway.
you know, for 30, 40 years.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're doing it, and you know, and that's what I think. If someone said, "What's the toolkit, Richard, for longevity?"
Well, I'd say not taking yourself too seriously would be right close to the top of the list.
Top of the list.
Top of the list, yeah.
How does it feel to have a Richard that is known in the public and always has been to a degree? Is that odd? Or?
That's a really difficult question.
Yeah.
Because I don't see myself as that person. I don't walk down the street and think that people know who I am. I honestly don't.
No.
And it makes it kind of awkward sometimes when people do, because they have a perception of you before they've even spoken to you. They've already made their mind up about who you are.
Really?
Well, not in a bad way, but you know, people think, oh, he's that guy, but I'm not, because they don't know me.
So is it quite uncomfortable sometimes? People just suddenly approach you and feel like they've almost got an access to say hello because of what you've done publicly?
I really don't mind it. In fact, when people come up to me and say, "Oh, you're that guy. I really loved your music when I was growing up," I think that's a wonderful thing to say.
It is. I know that even when you popped down the Anchor Gallery, there was two girls there. One day I popped in for coffee and they recognised you, and it's like if I mention, people get really excited about you and about Pop Leads Yourself and Bentley Rhythm Ace. And are you quite happy with all the changes you've been through over the length of your career, and any particularly difficult times you've had?
Well, there's always difficult times in your life, isn't there? But I've been incredibly lucky. I've had the most amazing experiences. I've travelled around the world and done fantastic things. A couple of months ago, someone asked me to do a little interview question type thing, and I said, what's your greatest achievement? And people on the other side of the world will come to a show that I'm doing 30 years after I've started. It's like it's the people who are putting out the CD are doing it because they think there's a demand for it. If we're doing this, we're doing some shows in December. You know how it works, whereas I do. We didn't decide to do the show. Some promoter somewhere has thought, well, if I book this band, then people will come and everyone can make some.
Isn't success lovely?
Pardon?
Isn't it great when it works? Isn't success lovely? And just carry on. I just feel like saying to people, look, if you've got something, you asked me about what we feel about the critics. I could feel concerned that, I took some time out to write this work that I'm putting out now, but I'm really happy with that. I feel like a better person. And I much prefer to have a band or people working with me, but I have to get on with them. I have to be okay with them.
Oh, that's really important, isn't
God,
it?
it is, isn't it?
But when you know yourself, when you're on tour, you've got your sound engineer and you've got your background tech guy, and then you might have your lighting guy or your monitor engineer, and those people are as important.
Yes.
As the rest of the band.
Absolutely. So your teams. And did you cherry pick people who work with you? Or, I think what I'm asking is, if someone was a real pain, but they were good at what they do, can you stand that, or are you not the sort of person that could stand that?
Well, that's interesting. If someone's really horrible and obnoxious, then you won't see them on the next. Okay.
So you give them the break. They let them finish the job, and then it's like, you're not staying in my phone book.
That kind of thing. Can we use someone else next time?
Yes.
We did a tour in Australia, and the tour manager was so good. It was so much fun that we paid for him to come over to the UK to tour manage tours that we did in the UK and in Europe and in America as well.
It's underestimated how much just being kind of a nice person is really important. I am quite eccentric. You might be too, you know. But if you don't treat people well, you just don't really get ahead, do you? Do you really? Or does it depend how much money you've made on your last record?
It's an interesting point, isn't it? Because you know, there's a lot of stuff coming out in the kind of post Me Too, post Operation U Tree about how thoroughly unpleasant people were, particularly in the 70s and the 80s.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, does that mean that if someone creates a great piece of art and it turns out that they were an obnoxious human being, should they be consigned to the dustbin of history? There's people that I feel sorry for.
Yeah.
You know, I heard a record the other day. A guy called Mike Leander produced it, and he wrote it and recorded it, and it's an amazing sound, really influential. It's like one of the greatest sounding records of the 70s, but you'll never hear it on the radio because it's by Gary Glitter. Do you have to be a nice person to create good art?
No.
Or, you know, can art only be appreciated if the person who created it was a good person?
Because he was doing what he was doing, he failed completely.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not that work was originally destined for great recognition. And I think basically, like, that's the answer. You know, you can make some work, but if you want to continue, have a good life and keep the work in the public eye, you can't break a moral code that we're all trying to achieve.
That's a really interesting and very well considered response. I like it. I might use that myself.
Please do. I like you.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Aww. What's next for you?
Well, another cup of coffee would be nice.
Should we go out for it and have some food? Cool.